you don't go taking money from Big Pharma without a big
Yeah.
repercussion. All right.
Yeah.
Long story
It,
short, Big Pharma is angry. Big Pharma
yeah.
is mad, even though it's their fault. Welcome to the Hey RX Friends Week at this podcast where we share our thoughts on the pharmacy profession, experiences as healthcare providers, and explore our identities as two women of color going after it all.
As we share our stories, we hope you laugh, maybe cry, and feel inspired as you get to know us. Because at the end of the day, friends, we got
this.
Yes, we do.
Hi, everybody. My name is
Hey.
Thu.
Hi, everyone. This is Saley. It's good to be back recording.
Good to be back. And today we have something that I'm so excited to talk about. And Saleh doesn't really know what it is. I've kept it kind of under the radar. I think all I've sent you is like, oh my God, I'm so excited for this.
She's so excited to talk about this. And I am really excited that I have no clue because I get to hear this and respond to it organically. So I'm giddy about that.
Okay, well, let's just jump right into it. Today we're going to be talking about Ozempic. We're talking about Ozempic today. Well, actually, we are talking about GLP-1 receptor agonists today.
Let's go. Oh, but wait.
Oh, wait.
Oh, I'm having a moment, y'all. Listeners, y'all know what I'm about to do. Before we do all that, because this is usually where Thu say, okay, but wait, before we do all that, please make sure you are watching us on YouTube, following us on Instagram, TikTok, all of your favorite socials. We are there. Please, please, please. I mean, I have passed the stage of just not begging. I'm straight up begging.
What is the stage after begging? Pleading? I don't know.
Pleading and crying. On my knees, on my belly. I'm just lying flat on the ground at your feet.
Praying.
Please review the show on whatever platform you're listening to us, Spotify or Apple. I always just want to highlight a little bit about why that's important. This is how we become a discoverable show for others that are interested in content like this. We don't do this because we like hanging out and chit-chatting and all that. Thu's cool and all. But
I mean, we do enjoy it, but we're doing this with a purpose, okay?
With a purpose, okay? Yes. And that purpose is to create community because we know that a young professional career can be a super isolating experience. And for two people that are still in that journey of discovery, we want to be as transparent and honest and share all of what we've been through. And so we can't be the only two people that have experienced these two things. That community, that's what we are after. And that requires you helping us by making us a discoverable show through your likes and shares. And now, without further ado,
I got my tea. I got my espresso, but it looks like a little teacup because you guys, the drama is real.
Meanwhile,
the pettiness is here.
It's orange juice for me. But I'm ready. I'm with the smoke. I'm with all the smoke.
A little bit more mild, but here we go. So, Saleh, when was the last time a medication has become a social phenomenon?
Yeesh.
I feel like this medication, this drug class has become truly a social phenomenon. There's no other description for it. No. We're talking about glucagon-like peptide 1 receptor agonist, also known as GLP-1 drugs. Yes. And that's what it's normally known as on social media, on the news, the way celebrities talk about it, it's GLP-1. Yeah. Now, GLP-1, just kind of give everybody some background information, is a hormone that we naturally release in the gut after we eat.
Can you emphasize that, please?
It's a natural hormone that
You're already doing it.
Yes. But, it does get degraded pretty quickly. And so that's why these medications give you more of these hormones to help you with slowing the gastric emptying, stimulate insulin secretion, and reduces appetite, and really makes you feel full, makes you feel what is that word? Satiety?
Yes, increased satiety.
Increased satiety. You feel like you don't have to eat anymore. That's basically what that means. I don't know, right?
You don't have to eat anymore.
You're full, you're happy, you're satisfied.
You're satisfied. I'm fascinated by them as a mechanism of action, number one, because they're not introducing a new process in the body. It's a process our
Yeah.
body already does. I think that that's really cool about the drug and its mechanism, but also that slowing of gastric emptying. It just means that as you eat and food hits your belly, that food doesn't move on as
As
quickly.
quickly.
It just sits there and hangs out and is released over time so slowly that you're full longer. Like
Hmm.
it's such a simple idea, but it's cool at the same time.
Yeah, totally, right? Totally. And
Yeah.
there's so much history and background information about these group of drugs, but I was going to say there's so much information on them already from other podcasts, especially other pharmacy podcasts that already does a lot of
Mm,
pharmacology and therapeutics that I want you
yeah.
guys to, if you're more interested in that information about these drugs, then go to them because that's where all the expertise and all the technical information is going to be given to you. But we're not doing that today. We're
No,
not
we don't
doing
do
that
that here.
today.
We
No,
don't
no,
do
no.
that here.
Come on now. Here's the thing. Let's talk a little bit more about the actual drugs that I'm going to be discussing today because
Yeah.
GLPs are a big class of
Yeah.
drugs. Like it's a big group of drugs, and most people are only familiar with two.
Mm.
One is, okay, I've always said semaglutide, but apparently it's semaglutide. Whatever. I'll say semaglutide to appease everyone. Okay. But we're talking about semaglutide, which is the brand name is Wegovy, Ozempic, and there's also an oral Rybelsus, which I've never seen used ever before. And then there's
Mm.
another medication called tirzepatide, and the brand names for this would be Mounjaro and Zepbound. So we're going to be
Yeah.
focusing on those two medications and those specific brand name
Yeah.
drugs. All right.
Mm.
Tirzepatide is a little bit more than just a GLP-1. It has an additional mechanism of action, but again, go to a different podcast for that. We'll probably link a couple of them below so you guys can follow up if that's something you're interested in.
I love how you're just like straight up, full disclosure, this and that. I'm just here to give you a frame of reference of what I'm talking about, but go get it elsewhere.
Yeah, go somewhere else because we ain't doing that today. We are going to be diving into current news and, dare I say, the drama surrounding these medications between the drug manufacturers, FDA, compounding pharmacies, med spas, and of course, the patients, the people that we are helping to either lose weight, control their diabetes, and even reduce cardiovascular disease. So that is what we're going to be talking today. The tea is piping hot. So let's freaking get into it. And lastly,
Serve it.
I want to also make sure that we touch on the dangers of freely prescribing medications with no proper follow up and no appropriate health care management provided to people who are just given these medications. Let's jump right into talking about the rise to stardom of Ozempic because this Ozempic is where it all freaking began. Now,
It
Ozempic
did.
was actually approved in 2017,
Mm.
and it's not the first GLP drug,
No.
but it was one of the first ones where you can inject every week instead of every day. And so that's
Mhm.
why it's so much more convenient
Mhm.
compared to the other ones.
Mhm.
Okay, I'm gonna give you some numbers, and this is where Sally's race is gonna get like all crazy. All right, you ready? By 2021, 2 million people were taking this medication. So it was like a 4-year release and 2 million people afterwards. But it really became a blockbuster item when it was considered Hollywood's worst kept secret. Rumors that A-list celebs were using this skinny pen to lose 10 pounds were on everyone's lips. Let's place the blame. Let's talk about the Kardashians because let's blame them because everybody blames them. All right. Now they they have some good qualities and some not so great qualities, but we have to recognize that they are trendsetters in terms of beauty standards, especially with their bodies. Okay.
The
So
influence that they have.
influence.
I,
I mean,
the the words are like getting stuck in my throat and won't come out. But the influence that they have had over redefining beauty standards cannot be overstated. Whether you like them, respect them for it, or just straight up find them annoying, you cannot like ignore that piece of their contribution, and the fact that they've normalized conversation around plastic surgery and like, so the Ozempic component, I was waiting for whether or not they'd be mentioned. You go, girl.
Of course I did. But what I remember was in 2022, all of a sudden, we just kind of started to crawl out of the pandemic hole. And Kim and Chloe just showed off these new bikini pictures with just brand new body types. They are no longer these curvy women. They have curves, but they're definitely like shockingly more skinny. Yeah. And then later that year, Kim was trying to fit into this Marilyn Monroe dress and boasted on the internet that she had to lose 16 pounds in 3 weeks to fit into this dress for the Met Gala. And the internet like lost it. I mean, the crazy stuff that was going on the internet at that time, because there was just no way that she could have done it with just diet and exercise. There was no way. And that was when the secret whispers about Ozempic use in Hollywood basically exploded, and it's no longer a whisper. It's you're screaming like they're all using Ozempic, even Elon Musk. Like, it's so wild. Like, Elon Musk? Really? Here's the thing. Because we see celebrities using this medication, it's clear to everybody else that this is no longer a medication that is just for high-risk people. And what the FDA identifies as high risk are people with a BMI of over 30 or patients with BMI over 27, but with some sort of weight associated comorbidity. So that's what they consider high risk. But some of these celebrities, like, I mean, freaking Kim Kardashian, just like, I want to lose 16 pounds, so I'm going to use this medication. You know what I mean? Like, this is no longer a medication to treat a condition, a disease state. This is now becoming literally like a cosmetic process.
Okay. So I wanted to just add a piece there.
Yeah.
For the time frame you're talking about, I'm in AmCare at this time. Imagine having to help your patients transition off Ozempic because they can't get it. And these are patients who are morbidly obese. They now have heart failure. They now have kidney disease. The Ozempic genuinely does help them, but they cannot have it because it's being used for cosmetic purposes. When people are told that insurance doesn't cover it, they're comfortable paying for it out of pocket. This is what was going on in my clinic, learning about other ways and strategies of how to mitigate this situation, because we were in a situation like diabetics could not get their drugs.
Patients who were indicated for medications like these. I mean, we need to emphasize that these people are taking away life-saving medications. Back though to the weight loss situation, for some people, this medication, like Ozempic, Wegovy, is like a miracle in terms of weight loss. Yes. In an interview that I read, quote, obesity is complex. It's all-encompassing of genetic, occupational, hormonal, physical, mental, and social factors, said Dr. Marlena Klein, DO, obesity medicine specialist at Cooper University Healthcare. Quote, patients have hugged me in the office and said I've changed their life because it allowed them to make changes. But, it's not simple, because in addition to the side effects, which we will touch on, most insurance will not cover for cosmetic weight loss or even just weight loss in general, forcing the general public to have to pay a jaw-dropping roughly about $1,000 to $1,400 a month out of pocket if it's used either for off-label or for weight loss, because insurance will not cover for that indication. And $1,000 a month for this medication is like some people's rent. You know what I mean? Like, it's so expensive.
It is.
So if you're looking at a miracle drug and how expensive it costs, all of that creates this perfect storm for Novo Nordisk, who is the creator of semaglutide, which is Ozempic, Wegovy. So the prescriptions for semaglutide really went up 400% between January of 2021 and December of 2023.
That was the other thing.
What is it?
I said that was the other thing. Like,
it went up so much.
Why is the price going up? Did something else happen?
It's the demand is so wild.
Continue.
Now, the drug maker of semaglutide, like I mentioned, Novo Nordisk, has market capitalization more than $570 billion. This is larger than the Danish economy where the company was founded. This growth has beat incredible records, going from $171 billion in 2021 to almost $600 billion in 2024. I mean, what? What?
You know, I get annoyed when we start having conversations where we're not talking in M's, we're talking in B's. That is B as in boy.
B.
That is B as in biatch. Okay.
Bullshit.
That is.
It's larger than the Danish economy. It's larger than like economies of many countries.
Many.
Let's
just
so wild?
say that. Larger than many countries' economy. That's a drug company. We're not talking about
just one company. It's disgusting.
One.
And the fact that like patients are still having to pay so much. Like if you think about it too hard, you're going to get upset. Of course, like you mentioned, with everything that is this perfect storm, the inevitable happened and we hit a drug shortage, which is something that real patients had to really deal with. Like it was a bad situation for many people.
Many people.
But that is also when chain of motions appeared that leads to all the drama that we're going to be talking about today. All right. So in 2022, Ozempic was placed on the FDA shortage list. And now all shit is shit's hitting the fan, people. Shit is hitting the fan.
Yeah.
Now, before we get started, I may have a bias as a pharmacist, but I'm going to try to report this without picking a favorite because I do understand both sides.
Yeah.
So let's go. Let's talk about the compounding pharmacy in this whole situation. Yeah. So it's true that compounding pharmacy can begin to produce medications if the drug is on the FDA's drug shortage list because the medication is no longer considered commercially available. And so all the limitations that are placed on compounding pharmacies are lifted when the drug is on shortage.
Yep.
However, the compounding has to be based on a valid prescription for an individual patient. So they can't just be making like a bunch of them and then selling it out. Like it has to be one patient has the prescription, bring it to the compounding pharmacy, and they will make it for that particular patient only. So that's how it works. Okay. Now the same rule applies for outsourcing facilities, and they're all under this shortage law. They're all under this section 503B of the FD&C Act. So again, when the drug is on the FDA's drug shortages list, an outsourcing facility can use an active pharmaceutical ingredient to make that drug. The active pharmaceutical ingredient must be accompanied by a valid certificate of analysis, and it must have been manufactured by an establishment registered with the FDA under this 510 of the FDC Act.
Gotcha.
Compounding pharmacy can purchase these active pharmaceutical ingredient from a reliable outsourcing facility to produce medications that is on shortage while the drug manufacturer gets basically their shit together to make their own drugs. Like, this is not our fault that UKs cannot handle the demands, okay? Like, this is your effing fault. Like,
and
if you're going to be a drug manufacturer.
That's what I'm saying. What did you think was going to happen after you started pushing your drug more as a weight loss agent than a diabetic drug? What did you anticipate would happen?
The fact that the FDA does have some sort of law around this to help people out when there is a drug on shortage makes a lot of sense to me. So then tell me why in January of 2024, 2 years after the shortage, Eli Lilly, the creator of Mounjaro and Zepbound, comes out with this open letter condemning the practice of compounding pharmacies making this their drug when they are unable to make their own freaking drug.
Is this on? Can you hear me? We don't care.
I may have to cut the volume down. Sorry for all those listening to headphones.
We don't care.
So Lilly, in their open letter, says, Lilly is the only lawful supplier of FDA-approved tirzepatide medicines in the U.S., and it does not sell or provide tirzepatide active pharmaceutical ingredients to any compounding pharmacies. Patients taking this product referred to only as tirzepatide are not taking FDA-approved products. So they're saying compounding drugs are not FDA approved. Mounjaro and Zepbound are only available from and manufactured by Lilly. Lilly has discovered products claiming to be compounded tirzepatide medicines that contain bacteria, high impurity levels, different chemical structures, and different colors than Mounjaro or Zepbound. In at least one instance, the product was nothing more than sugar alcohol. Lilly will continue to pursue legal remedies against those who falsely claim their products as Mounjaro, Zepbound, or FDA-approved tirzepatide, including certain medical spas, wellness centers, and compounding pharmacies. Lilly strongly supports state and federal regulators taking action to deter and punish compounding pharmacies, counterfeiters, and other who put patients at risk by selling unsafe products claiming to be tirzepatide. If a patient is concerned that they may have received something that is a counterfeit, then please, talk to the FDA. Blah, blah, blah.
I don't understand. Why are you embodying the energy of the letter? Like,
because it's so petty.
Because it's not, because it's just alcohol, sugar, and you should know better. But don't you worry. We are here and we will not stop investigating and bringing you the truth.
Yeah. I could just
getting
imagine
on your nasty Grace.
Yeah. That's like an email that you type up in the middle of the night when you're really angry about something. And so it begins. Now, basically, from my basic understanding of this open letter is that you don't go taking money from Big Pharma without a big repercussion. Yeah. All right. Yeah. So long story short, Big Pharma is angry. Big Pharma is mad, even though it's their fault. Like you literally can't produce your own drug. Like you know what I mean? Like
that's hilarious. It's like, ridiculous. Okay, so you created the problem and you're mad for people that because they found a workuraround. Okay.
They didn't find a workaround. This is a process that is established by the FDA to help people. What do you want people to do? Just not take the drug and wait for you to get your shit together? Eli Lilly.
Okay, well,
please don't get mad at me, Eli Lilly. Please don't come after me.
Okay, well, also they said it's alcohol, sugar, so it's not their drug. I don't know. That letter just is like, we can't get it to you, but we also don't want anyone else to get it to you.
Right. Well, here's the thing. Then, in March 8th of 2024, pharmacy claps back. We ain't going to be taking this shit.
Clap back season.
So the CEO of Alliance for Pharmacy Compounding, which is an organization that is a voice for pharmacy compounding, represents more than 500 compounding small businesses, including compounding pharmacies and technicians in various settings. They also release a statement. And I'm going to read it verbatim because it's also petty. It's also that email that you write in the middle of the night. Just like real angry. All right.
Give it to me.
Here we go.
I'm doing my too. Give it to me.
Okay, ready? Lilly and other drug manufacturers have developed GLP-1 medications at great expense, and they've been received with great fanfare because of the effectiveness. Unfortunately, they are not able to meet the current demands for those drugs. Compounding pharmacies are authorized by federal law and follow FDA rules in preparing copies of FDA-approved drugs when that drug is listed as currently in shortage on FDA's drug shortage list, as both tirzepatide and semaglutide currently are. FDA guidance is plainly worded on this matter. Duh, it's plainly worded, all right? Like, read it again. In its letter, Lilly rather cleverly conflates legitimate compounded medications prepared by a compounding pharmacy with illicit counterfeit substances obtained without a prescription. Surely the drug makers know that this is misleading. Legitimate compounded drugs are prescribed by a physician or other prescriber for a specific patient when the FDA-approved drug is not appropriate or available for that patient. They are prepared and dispensed by state-licensed compounding pharmacies using documented, pure active pharmaceutical ingredients that come from the FDA-registered facilities. Lilly rightly noted that compounded drugs are not FDA-approved, but that fact does not mean that compounded drugs are unsafe any more than what it means that FDA-approved drugs are always safe. Lilly states that it discovered impurities. Lilly should not be allowed to freely make headline-grabbing claims without answering a few questions and providing evidence for those claims. First, are we sure that this is a compounding drug? Was it prepared by a state-licensed pharmacy? If not, it's not a compounded drug at all. It's not even pharmacy. But let's say It was prepared by a legitimate pharmacy. And so my next question is, was it legally acquired? How exactly does a corporation get its hands on a drug that can only be dispensed to a specific patient pursuant to a prescription from a physician or other provider? But let's say that some good-hearted patient to whom the drug was legally dispensed brought it to Lily. More questions. How old was the substance that at the time Lily acquired the drug, and had it been tested? Who did the testing? Had it been properly refrigerated? Answers to these questions matter in determining the legitimacy of Lily's claims. Lily's claims make for great headlines, but they are misleading. In this case, the drug behemoth should answer a few questions and show its work. Mounjaro and Zepbound are trademarks owned by Lilly. It is never legal to refer to a compounded drug by a brand name. Compounded drugs are referred to by the name of the active pharmaceutical ingredient, nor is it accurate to refer to a compounded drug as generic. Compounded drugs are not the same as generic drugs. Moreover, compounded drugs are not FDA approved because they are prescribed for an individual patient, but the API in those drugs is FDA regulated.
Yes.
Oh,
API is FDA regulated.
Mic is dropped. So yeah, the
Where
pettiness,
was I?
the drama.
I'm a little annoyed that I like miss all this I like the pull on the API, like for non-pharmacy, active pharmaceutical ingredient. That's what API is. But I like that the clapback. Who wrote that letter? I would hire them.
His name is Scott Brunner.
Mr. Brenner was like, this is going to be a one-time demonstration of how not to fuck with me.
Yeah, I feel like I wrote this letter. I was like, oh my God, I feel like this is me. This is something I would totally do.
This is a one-time demonstration. I'm pretty sure that the message was sent very clear.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, but there's so much here because they're going after the people who are stepping in to fill the gaps. And I'm just here for the orange juice. I don't get money from either. Exactly. You know what I mean? I don't get money from either side here. I'm just here for the chance to sip my orange juice. But what I'm thinking about is, I don't think it's right to come after the people or the entities that want to step up to try to fill a gap. How do you create the buzz around this drug as a miracle weight loss drug? You get papers published that fixate on weight loss property, where the anti-diabetic properties, the cardiovascular benefit, the progression of renal disease, all of that falls in the shadows of it's a weight loss drug, but you're surprised at the response that comes after that. I just don't believe that they didn't anticipate that. And if they did, fire your launch team and you can hire me.
Oh my God. Oh, Sally's switching sides. She's switching sides. She's like, whatever side that pays me the most. Yes, exactly.
I'm happy to come to the dark side anytime to tell you how some of these failures in your strategic meetings affect direct patient care. Because we were the people that were trying to figure out, like, doing all sorts of deep dives and literature to figure out, how do I transition someone off a GLP-1 and onto an SGLT2, and how much time, what is the starting dose? Like, there was a whole initiative that we had to take up with the assistance of amazing students to figure out how we were going to deal with the shortage. And patients are there like, I'm scared of needles. That's why the once a week works for me.
To your point, though, there is really no sides, because I think the claims on both sides, there are components where it makes sense, right? And there's some fears about counterfeits and the products not being quite perfect.
Which are well substantiated. Go listen to episode 30.
And then compounding pharmacies being like, this is a lawful thing. Like, you cannot put us at the same place as med spas and wellness centers. Like, we are legally here to make these medications. Like, there are regulations that we are having to work under to make sure patients are getting the FDA regulated products. So, I mean, after all of that drama, right, and that was back in March when the response was published, it was kind of crickets for a while until July of 2024, when the FDA comes in with their own concerns. And they published an article that titles FDA alerts healthcare providers, compounders, and patients of dosing errors associated with compounded injectable semaglutide products. And so the FDA says FDA has received reports of adverse events, some requiring hospitalization, that may be related to overdoses due to dosing errors associated with compounded semaglutide injectable products. Dosing errors have resulted from patients measuring and self-administering incorrect doses of the drug and healthcare providers miscalculating doses of the drug. FDA encourages patients to talk to their healthcare providers or compounders about how to measure and administer the intended dose of the compounded semaglutide. Many of the patients who receive vials of compounded semaglutide lacked experience with self-injections, according to some of these reports. Unfamiliarity with withdrawing medications from a vial into a syringe, and coupled with confusion between different units of measurements, milliliters, milligrams, and units, have contributed to dosing error. So when you
100%.
purchase Ozempic, for example, it comes in their own patented pens, and it'll be very easy for them to measure out the dose and give themselves the injection. But when you get the compounded product, it's going to probably come in a vial, and you have to learn how to draw that up yourself, and that can be really confusing. And I can imagine a lot of confusion between the providers and the patients of that.
Absolutely.
Now,
And I was advocating to place referrals to our clinic for any patient that was going to get this. I wanted them to have one-on-one time with pharmacy, with our clinic, to teach them. It's a real adjustment because the pre-filled pens,
they're so easy.
It's manufactured.
So
They
easy.
just dial it up. They hear a click. They know that their doses have been activated. They inject it. We teach them, hold it in for a few seconds, and then it's done. And now I'm having to teach them the syringe. Some of the patients like, well, my eyes are not that great. I can't see the calibrations on this syringe. It's a real thing. It's a real thing where I can definitely see how, if a patient hasn't gone through any type of hands-on training to teach them about the syringe and how to draw it up, and it could be an error.
Yeah. So compounded medications are packaged in multiple dose vials and pre-filled syringes. Product concentrations may also differ, and a single compounder may offer multiple concentrations of a compounded semaglutide product. So that can be very confusing. Additionally, the instructions that accompany the compounded drug, if provided, may instruct users to administer semaglutide injections in units, but patients were also given inappropriate supply to draw up the administered products. So several reports describe healthcare providers incorrectly calculating the intended dose when converting from milligrams to units or milliliters, which resulted in patients administering 5 to 10 times more than the intended dose. Oh my God, that's insane.
This is a PSA. Please call the pharmacist. Please send them to your med management pharmacist. I assure you that as they listen to you as you're talking, they can tell you exactly what the number is without grabbing a calculator.
Yeah, well, the FDA actually wrote down some examples that they found, and one of them, a provider intended to dose 0.25 milligrams, which is typical starting dose, but prescribed 25 units instead, which is like 5 times what it was supposed to be, leading to a patient receiving 5 times the intended dose and experiencing severe vomiting. Look, you guys, math is hard. Math is hard. It is. I hate converting between all this stuff too. Like, I hate it. But if you're going to do this, then you do it right. Okay? Like, you went to 10 years of school. Okay? Like, figure it out. It's literally not that hard, even though it is.
It's the disclaimer. You guys, math is hard.
It is. I hate multiplying things on a calculator too. But we all have to do it, okay?
We all have to do it.
Get a double check, but really get a pharmacist. So, yeah. In one reported case, it was difficult for a patient to obtain clarity on dosing instructions from a telemedicine provider who prescribed the compounded semaglutide, leading to the patient to conduct an online search for medical advice and resulting in the patient taking 5 times the intended dose. Ooh, we're getting angry. We're getting real mad because, I mean, honestly, if you're going to be prescribing medications, then you better be effing available for that patient to ask. Oh my gosh, she's drinking her orange juice. I love it.
I have to stop myself from letting the words that are bubbling to come up. Stop
I'm
myself.
shaking. I'm
I
shaking.
am shaking. Just
Um, so
what?
so
Why?
basically that was their major concern, and these are really all the reports that they received, and I think all of those concerns are super super legitimate. You know what I mean?
Oh,
And that is why
they are. Oh,
that
they are.
that's why I'm like I there's really no sides necessarily, because there are concerns when when you're using a product that's not through the patented design pens. It's difficult, it's scary, it can lead to a lot of errors if you're just like, oh,
Yeah.
here's the medication, and you don't provide enough follow-up or support for the patient. So
It's not everyone wants to, and I'm really grateful that I have this outlook on healthcare and a person who lives in healthcare now. And especially now as an administrator, it's crazy on that side too. It's a whole nother universe on that side. But it's like everyone wants to believe that healthcare is this error-proof process, universe, world. It's not. It's a place where people who make mistakes for multiple reasons come to try to do their best every single day. The compounding pharmacies. And that's why, like, when we hear about cases where people are just being straight up reckless, it's so disturbing because the responsibility that you have to make sure that what you're doing is accurate should be lost on no one. But to put patients on medication and just think, oh, they're college educated or that's a nurse. We make a lot of assumptions about our patients, like, oh, she's a nurse. She's gonna know what to do. He's a physician assistant. He's gonna know what to do. She's a pharmacist. She's gonna know.
I
You have
don't
no
know
idea how many
anything.
times I'm told that as a patient. As a
Oh,
patient, it's like I'm told that.
it's
It's
so
like,
funny.
and I remember, I would never forget. Tangent. I've been
Tangent.
traveling
Yeah.
a lot. I every time I travel where the time zone is different, I'm always as a patient, like it's almost like my pharmacist brain shuts off. But I'm thinking like, okay, my Tacro, that is a kinetically dependent medication. I can't take it too close because it could also become nephrotoxic if my levels build up. Like I have to take it at very specific intervals. Like I have to sit down and calculate where will I be in my travels where I have to stop and take it. But I was embarrassed by asking the question, like, I'm traveling and I'm going to be in California. Like, when should I take my next Tacro dose if I take it at
They're
10 p.m.?
like, you
And
can't
they're
figure
like,
it out.
you're a pharmacist. You should figure that out. I was like, oh,
Discrimination against pharmacists.
discrimination.
One
Anyways,
time I
continue. But it's just the point I'm trying to make is
yeah.
that providers assume things about their patients. They assume that the patient who cannot read is not going to be able to understand instructions when they're delivered a certain way. Take the time to understand and know your patient and then rise to the occasion of meeting their needs. You
Yeah.
hope that their needs are minimal, but some patients need more than others. And that's just,
Yeah. Totally. I was gonna say one time I took Solu pack, and I took like all of the doses at once, because that's something that you could do, even though really you should space it out. But like if you could, I guess that is an option. But then I did that, and I kind of had like a panic moment and went back to the ED. And they're like, but you're a pharmacist, right? And I was like, how dare you? Pharmacists have side effects too.
I'm so glad. Like, I'm not the only person who, being
It's
a pharmacist, got
embarrassing.
thrown in my face. Like,
It's
I'm
embarrassing.
a patient.
Yeah, I'm a patient right now. I'm a pharmacist over there, but I'm a patient here. Okay. So, anyways, so all of that happened in July 2024, that first FDA letter that came out. And then a month ago, literally 30 days ago,
What?
FDA comes back again, October 2nd, 2024, with another concern. And this time it says FDA's concern with unapproved GLP-1 drugs used for weight loss. And in this letter, the last letter was just about semaglutide. This one included semaglutide and tirzepatide. So it says here, very similar to the above. Oh, that's what I put. They included the fact that patients prescribed compounded semaglutide, tirzepatide products in doses beyond what was FDA approved. And so that means that maybe patients were taking the dose more quickly or titrating it too fast. Patients taking doses that are not FDA approved. patients prescribed compounded semaglutide or tirzepatide products in doses beyond what was approved. This led to adverse events and serious for some patients that needed to seek medical attention for their symptoms, such as nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, abdominal pain, and constipation. As of August 31st, 2024, FDA received a lot of reports, but they do believe that, you know, the numbers that the number of reports that they received are underestimated as well. But in 2 months, there were 346 reports of adverse events with compounded semaglutide and 136 reports of adverse events with compounded tirzepatide. And they do believe these numbers are under reported.
Wow.
Now, so that was that letter that they sent out early in October. And then there was crickets until 3 weeks after that, Novo Nordisk asked FDA to ban compounding pharmacies from making Ozempic Wegovy copies. That escalated quickly. The move is Novo Nordisk's latest attempt to crack down on potential harmful copies of semaglutide after it filed 50 lawsuits against several clinics, compounding pharmacies, and other manufacturers over the last year. Novo Nordisk late Tuesday nominated, you're going to use nominated semaglutide to the FDA's demonstrable difficulties for compounding lists, which include complex drugs that compounders are not allowed to make even during shortages because they could potentially pose safety risks. So CNBC was where I
Wow.
found that article. Yeah.
So they're saying that I don't care that it's short. We don't trust you to get it right.
Totally. And I can kind of see that. There's reports saying that this is very dangerous for patients to, you know what I mean? So like,
oh my
I mean, there's substantial claims. You know what I mean?
It's not. So we want like, we want black and white. And what I'm learning as you talk about this is it's a little nuanced. It's not as black and white as there's a shortage, it can be compounded. It's not as black and white as that. Yeah. It's not as black and white as it's being compounded and patients are struggling with it, or it's compounded and it's not up to par.
Dangerous things are happening. Dangerous things are happening. Yeah.
Yeah. Several things are going on, like, and many truths can exist at the same times. Preferably more than one, just two. That's what I say. I don't like it when 5 truths exist at once, because then I get confused. Which of these truths do I need to hold on to?
I mean, they're all true.
They're all true. That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't like it that all these are true, because it makes like picking my posturing around it a little bit difficult. The idea that we have patients in need and there's a path to get the patients to the drug, but we can't do that because of documented cases, and we've been able to quantify these adverse events and things like that can't go ignored.
Exactly. So it is notably FDA took tirzepatide off its shortage list earlier in October, although semaglutide is still on the shortage list. Even though tirzepatide is off the shortage list, it looks like pharmacies are saying they're still struggling to stock up on the branded version. So all I have to say is, you know what, FDA, good luck. Good luck on making the decision.
Oh my God, that is not where I thought you were going. I was like,
but you know,
it's like, this all looks really bad. This all sounds awful. I'm rooting for you. Figure it out.
Yeah, figure it out. FDA, let us know. All right, guys, I'm coming to you with an update. Since we last recorded, that was a couple of weeks ago, there's been some new breaking information regarding compounded semaglutide, and I want to make sure that we have the most up-to-date information for you. So here is an article published on the Pharmacy Times website, and this was published November 8th, 2024, and the title of that article is Off-Label Semaglutide Linked to Deaths, Hospitalizations Calling for Compounding Regulations. And so the article the article goes to say approximately 10 deaths and 100 hospitalizations in the United States have been linked to use of off-brand compounded semaglutide, according to the drug's manufacturer Novo Nordisk. The report comes after the company called on the FDA. The report comes after the company called on the FDA to prohibit compounding of semaglutide in October 2024, citing significant safety concerns around the use of off-brand products. Semaglutide products, quote, semaglutide products belong on these lists due to complexities associated with their formulations, delivery mechanisms, dosage forms, achievement of bioavailability, compounding processes, and the physiochemical and analytical testing, the company stated. And they stated that we request that the FDA convene and consult in an advisory committee on compounding to discuss the addition of semaglutide products to both the DDC, which is the demonstrable difficulties for compounding lists, and why are they using all these big words? Promulgate regulations adding semaglutide products to the DDC lists. When I initially wrote the script for this topic, I really thought I would end it at on this funny note of, haha, good luck FDA, good luck figuring it out. But as I rewatched the episode, I think it's important for us to also give an opinion, or at least our opinion, on the entire matter. If my mom came to me and asked, should I take compounded semaglutide, what would I tell her? And now, before we get started with what I think, this is not medical advice, you guys. This is not medical advice. We don't know each other. I'm just giving you kind of my overall thought on everything that is available for me to consume at this time. So all the information that I've collected, this is kind of my final thought. If my mother came to me and asked, should she take compounded semaglutide, I would tell her that technically it's a completely legal process at this time. I know that Novo Nordisk and Eli Lilly are really concerned about that active pharmaceutical ingredient, but at the same time, this process is FDA regulated. That active pharmaceutical ingredient that comes from all these outsourcing facilities, they have to arrive with an analysis of what that product is. So this whole entire thing is FDA regulated, and it's also completely legal. Now, if it were me and I'm thinking about getting compounded semaglutide, I would go to a local compounding pharmacy. I would want to see where they're located, and I would want to drive up to that building and talk to the pharmacist and ask them all these questions. I would want to know everything I need to know to make sure that my therapy is safe and it's effective. So if it were me, I would go to my local pharmacy, compounding pharmacy, and you're also helping out a small business in the meantime. At the same time, I would want to make sure that I'm going to a trusted primary care or trusted provider for the prescription, also for proper follow-up. I want to make sure that if something goes wrong, that they are there to help me. Healthcare is great when everything goes right, but oh boy, when something goes wrong, you want the right people on your side. And that's what I mean when I say find somebody that you trust for when things go wrong, they can help support you. I don't know if I would go to an online pharmacy or purchase purchase from an online company just for that safety net. I don't know if they have any kind of support for me if something goes wrong. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe some of these companies are great, but I would say use your judgment and use your gut when it comes to finding the right healthcare for you. And that goes for everything, obviously, but I hope that you trust in your gut and see, I don't trust this provider. I'm going to go to somebody else. Here's the thing. If you don't know, if they didn't give you the proper instructions on how to give yourself the medication, how to inject semaglutide or whatever it might be, I would hold off until you get the most accurate information from the people who gave you this medication. I would not Google it, because as we know, sometimes these compounded pharmacies, they do different things. They can be giving you a different concentration of the product than like your neighbor or even that random dude on Reddit. Okay. So like if you are unsure about how to give yourself this medication, just hold off on it until you have the right info. And if you get information that you don't trust, like, girl, run. That's a red flag. I'm just being silly, but this can be very serious. And we need to take serious look at how we are consuming and how we're getting healthcare from sources that may not have our best interest in mind. Listen, Novo Nordisk is a $600 billion company. There's a lot of money to be made from these medications, and people are going to take advantage of it. And I don't want you guys to be victims of greedy people. Okay. Finally, let's talk about oral semaglutide, because, oh boy, that is this whole thing. And I get a headache from talking about oral semaglutide, but I feel like it is very important. Now, the only FDA approved oral semaglutide that's available is by Novo Nordisk, and it's called Rybelsus. And I'm hoping I'm saying that name right, because I've never heard of this brand name in my entire pharmacy career. I'm sorry, Rybelsus, but like, we don't know you. No shade, but you know, your sister Ozempic is doing way better. She's more popular. Okay, what am I saying? The only commercially available oral semaglutide is made by Novo Nordisk, and it's called Rybelsus. And it's a tablet that you take, and it goes into your mouth and goes into the stomach, where it goes through the first pass effect, which means that it goes into the liver, it gets metabolized, and then whatever that's left over gets absorbed into your bloodstream. Studies that I have found, pharmacokinetic studies that I have found looking at this process, shows that oral semaglutide has less than 1% bioavailability, which means all that stuff that you put in your mouth and it goes in the stomach, only 1% of that actually goes into your bloodstream, which is fine because they can adjust that based off of the dosing. With that said, when you are purchasing sublingual semaglutide, which goes underneath the tongue, when you put medications sublingually, that doesn't go into the stomach. It doesn't get degraded by the stomach. It doesn't go through the first pass effect through the liver. It goes right into your bloodstream. The problem with sublingual semaglutide is that we have no evidence, we have no data to tell us how much gets into our bloodstream. We don't, and as far as I can tell, and the information that I have available to me, I don't see any information that's done, research that's done in human models. I've seen some rat models. I've not seen any kind of human models with like sublingual semaglutide. What does that mean though? What does that mean? It means that the dose that they're telling you to take in terms of like the sublingual semaglutide, in my opinion, and I think from all the information that I found, all of it is extrapolated data from information that is not specific to sublingual semaglutide. Like they're using pharmacokinetic data from somewhere else. They're using, pharmacokinetic data from the oral Rybelsus. They're using pharmacokinetic data from the injection semaglutide, and they kind of like lump it all together. And kind of like what I'm trying to say is I think it's extrapolated data, and it's kind of just like a guesswork of what would work for you when it comes to sublingual semaglutide. Now, let me preface, though, that in healthcare, a lot of times we do have to use extrapolated data. Like, we don't have research on everything. And so sometimes we just have to use our like clinical and critical brain to decide what's best for the patient. But in my opinion, like, why would I go for a sublingual semaglutide and basically a lot of guesswork when there's oral semaglutide that's available, which I know is extremely expensive. I understand that. But then we also know that the injectable semaglutide is also effective. Maybe people have data that I don't have access to. All I know is like right now, with what I know, I would recommend just using the formulation that has been proven to work, that has been proven to be effective and safe. All right. So that's my 2 cents on that. Lastly, let's talk about the discrepancies between the dosing of the sublingual semaglutide and the commercially available products. With the tablet semaglutide, the one you take by mouth, goes in your stomach, the instructions here is 3 milligrams daily for 30 days, and then it goes up to 7 milligrams, and then you titrate up from there. The injection semaglutide is 0.25 milligrams weekly. Do you see that difference? Like, there's a significant difference, right? What do you think the sublingual semaglutide is prescribed at? It's prescribed as 0.25 milligrams daily. It's like a mixture of like the oral and the injection. I think from what I understand and like anonymous source that I have, it seems like they do believe that this is a good dose for patients based off of the pharmacokinetics that's available. I can't verify that. And what I understand now is that compounding pharmacy and that entire industry is very much kind of like a wild west of healthcare, in my opinion. And they exist for some really good, like they exist for the benefit of patients. They make medications that are not commercially available so that it's individualized to you. If you need like a hormone like estrogen or something and you need a particular dose that fits your needs, they can make it for you because drug companies are not going to make it. Again, I would rather take a medication that I know is effective and safe than kind of put my trust on maybe anecdotal or extrapolated evidence. Like, I don't know. Okay. I hope that wasn't too harsh. Like, that's just kind of, I don't know, like, again, it's all my opinion. I hope that's not too harsh. The information that I have, this is kind of my thoughts on everything. All right. I think that's it. Until next time, back to the show. But I want to make sure that we touch on the med spas because I didn't realize that med spas would just or not prescribing necessarily, but they have like GLP-1 services for weight loss. You know what I mean? And that weirds me out.
I can take you even further. I had no idea that drugs, like synthetic agents, like pharmaceutical agents, were a part of med spas, like health spas, wherever it is. So
yeah,
help me come along because
I didn't really look into med spas, and I think this might be another episode potentially. But I want to tell you about a YouTuber who described her experience. And I'm just going to summarize what I saw in this video. But essentially, I came across this YouTuber who also is a med spa owner. And in this video that she created, she said that she wanted to try out the medication on herself before considering adding semaglutide or GLP-1 services to her own med spa. So I think that's a
good for her.
Yeah, like that's a pretty nice thing to do.
That's a brave thing to do.
I know. I'm like, let me try this out before. I'm like, oh, okay. So this story is not meant to like make her embarrassed or shame her. I mean, she put it out there. I think we're just putting in our pharmacist response. I think this is what we're doing. And actually, I really like the fact that she did that and shared her experiences because I love that she cared enough about her own patients to at least try it on herself.
Yeah, the transparency alone takes guts.
In her story, she explains that she got Ozempic from another med spa and started on the 0.2 milligram dose. She reported that she was given instructions to self-titrate every 2 to 4 weeks if she was tolerating the current dose. And she was told to look out for things like suppressed appetite. Now, she said that she didn't experience any side effects, and she also didn't really experience any suppressed appetite either. So she decided to taper up quicker than what was instructed for her because there was an event that she was going to, and she wanted to, get the results that she wants to see faster. Yeah, exactly. So she decided she was going to go up to 0.4 milligrams after a week. So she did 0.25 milligrams 1 week, and then jump on to 0.4 milligrams the week after.
Okay.
At this point, she says she still had not seen any effects of appetite suppression. She was like, I'm still hungry. But But in addition to feeling still hungry, she did notice fatigue, excessive thirst, heartburn, bloating, and constipation. And she describes her heartburn, her GERD, that it was bad enough that she was chugging, quote unquote, chugging Pepto Bismol in the middle of the night because she couldn't handle the symptoms. She said that she finished one bottle of Pepto Bismol in 24 hours because that's how bad her GERD was. She also somehow got her hands on Zofran. I'm like, how does she get all these like prescription medications? But anyways, she got her hands on Zofran to help with the nausea, but she was having to use all these medications, Pepsids, she said, even to manage her side effects. Even with all of that, she still felt hungry despite increasing her dose. She also reported having constipation that felt like she had rocks in her stomach, and it did not improve with laxative.
Oh my
Now,
gosh.
even though with all these symptoms, she still went up to 0.5 milligrams on that third week. And that's when shit really hits the fan. And Saley can already feel it in her body. Oh, God. Look at Saley. Okay. She had sushi that night, and it led to an entire night of vomiting. Oh, my God. Saley. She lost so much fluid that she had to go to a quote IV infusion room to get fluid. I'm like, lady, go to an emergency room. I know. Like, she said that she didn't feel 100% even after the IV, and she was in bed all day. And like at this point, again, I'm not trying to make her feel bad. I'm not trying to shame anybody, right? But as a healthcare provider, I'm so scared for her. Like it's not me being like shaming. I'm like, oh my God, girl, like
this is genuine concern
because
of
right, 100%.
Because I know like how quickly this could just
escalate.
Be very bad. Yes.
And I'm thinking like she probably, I mean, she was explaining these side effects and she was kind of like, yeah, I'm like aware of them, but I didn't realize they could be this bad. But like, I don't think she has ever been informed that this medication can cause really severe adverse events, like, oh my God, like dangerous types of adverse events, like pancreatitis, for example, and even like small bowel obstructions. And all of these symptoms, like nausea, vomiting, they're all kind of like hallmark signs of pancreatitis and small bowel obstruction, especially with abdominal pain, which she didn't really say that she has. So maybe that was something that maybe wasn't too problematic. But especially with small bowel obstructions, like nausea, vomiting, abdominal pain, and the inability to pass gas or stool. And she was constipated. She couldn't, the laxative didn't help. So these are all signs and symptoms. If she showed up to like urgent care or ER, they would 100% work her up for those things. Get labs on that and make sure it's not just like, oh, I lost a bunch of fluid.
Because they would listen to your tummy and hear how silent it is up in there. And be very concerned. What's going on in there?
Yeah.
Why?
So it's so
Are there no bowel sounds at all?
So that's the thing that like this story, again, I'm not here to be like, oh my God, why didn't you, not to like shame her, but like reading that makes my stomach drops because of how bad things can get. And I'm just like, why hasn't anyone like reached out to you, follow up with you, like check on you, make sure like none of these symptoms are sus, because if I'm told like, oh, I've been vomiting all night, I'm chugging Pepto-Bismol, I'm like, you should stop and seek like
go to the
emergency. Yeah. So anyways,
I want to go back to our discussion for a second to point something else out that like we're talking about like GLP-1 or drug companies and compounding companies going at it and whatever, but it forces you to think about how fragile our whole drug supply chain is. Because even with the hurricanes that just happened, why are you laughing? You're mute.
You are literally opening like another can of worms.
Oh, am I?
Now. Yeah, like, oh my God. I mean, that's another episode, I think.
It's another episode. I was just gonna cite the fact that the hurricane that just happened and all that stuff, like, we are short on a million things. Like, I have PNT coming up in a couple of weeks, and my drug shortage and I'm just looking at it like, we should just close. I mean,
we have nothing. We have nothing.
Like we're on allocation for so many things, including COVID vaccine allocation. You can't order more than X in X amount of time because of the weather. But it's the same conversation. It's a difference without a distinction, really. It's just like drug companies, they come out with a product and my mom's chemotherapy regimen had to be completely adjusted because carboplatin went on shortage.
Wow,
That's her platinum base. That's the
so
backbone
painful.
to her
That's
therapy, right?
painful.
So when you say it's a whole nother episode, it's a whole nother episode because my mom ended up dying of the ovarian cancer that she had. Like, is it because we went 3 months, 4 months without her platinum base, like when she was doing well
That's
and that
so
was
sad.
moving out? Like, it's a real thing a problem that
Yeah.
exists in healthcare, but our system, it's very fragile. It's
Well,
very fragile.
I was thinking it's a can of worms because then we talk about our dependence on, foreign manufacturers, and that is
Yes.
another freaking can of worms. But
Yeah.
anyways, I I want to make sure we end this episode on
Ozempic,
time.
Ozempic is fun.
This was a
Ozempic is
fun one.
fun to talk about because
It's
you don't
juicy.
realize all of the different things involved. Like, who knew that the Compounding Alliance and Eli Lilly, or is it Lilly or Noble?
Eli Lilly.
Yeah.
Well, all of them now at this point.
All of them. That there's a beef going on in the streets out here. And then the FDA, you think, is coming in to mediate, but really they're just carving out their own turf in this beef too, because they end up going to court over less. So who knows?
I don't know what if anyways. There could be a lot
Who's
of,
gonna keep us
other things.
updated because she loves this stuff. Like, she's low-key an investigative journalist.
I low-key love this.
I know.
But thank you so much, everybody, for listening. If this episode speaks to you and you think that others may benefit from hearing our stories, send this episode to them. This will help us reach even more people.
And that's what we are after. This episode, along with, wait for it, 30 others? Bananas. We are officially bingeable. Every time I say this, it just hits me hard about that. But on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, anywhere you get your podcast, you can find us. I am begging. I'm on my belly. I'm rolling at your feet. Please like, follow, subscribe. Drop a comment in there.
Yeah.
We want to engage. And Thu will link all of our handles down below for you. And we appreciate the support every single time.
Yeah, guys.
And until next time, when we are with you again, walking the dog, cleaning, or doing whatever your favorite activity is, don't forget that we got this.
We got this, everybody. Bye.